Good morning, General Counsel. Is there a quorum?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Good morning. I'm Ann Valentine, designee for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. I am calling to order the July 2024 meeting of the IHCDA Board of Directors here at IHCDA. We are meeting pursuant to this board's policy for participation by members of the IHCDA Board of Directors in board meetings by simultaneous electronic communication. This means that only 3 members must be physically present at the site of the meeting, and the remaining members may call in. There will be an audio feed for the general public so that members of the public can listen to the meeting, and there will be a link to a video recording posted on IHCDA's website next month. At the time the motions are being made, each board member that makes a motion must state his or her first and last name for the record. The votes will then be tallied by roll call. I will now take a roll call of the board members to confirm members who are present and their location, and I promise not to forget Chad, like I did last month. Ann Valentine, designee for Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch here in the room. Mark Pascarella, designee for State Public Finance Director Dan Hughey.
Present in the room.
Abby Reddy, designee for Treasurer of State Daniel Elliott.
Present and in the room.
Board member G. Michael Schopmeyer.
Present virtual from Evansville.
Board member Andy Place Sr.
Present virtual.
Board member Chad Greiwe.
Present virtual.
Board member Tom McGowan. Excellent. First item on the agenda, the board members have been provided the minutes from the June 27th, 2024 meeting. So we have approval of those minutes. I will entertain a motion.
Mark Pascarella, move to approve.
Do we have a second? Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, I'll call the roll for approval. Mark Pascarella.
Aye.
Avi Reddy.
Aye.
Michael Schopmeyer.
Aye.
Andy Place.
Aye.
Chad Greiwe.
Aye.
Tom McGowan. Motion carries. Next up, please welcome Megan Herber, who will present the Creating Places update to the board. One of my favorite programs.
I haven't done this before, so thank you. I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm here to present on the Creating Places program and to request additional funding for the program for the continuation of this year and into next year. So I'm going to first start off with a bit of a presentation, an update to the board about the program and some of the successes that we have had since my last update to the board in September of last year. Let's see if this clicker works for me. Great. So just a quick refresher on the program. Creating Places was started in 2016 in partnership with a crowdfunding website called Patronicity. Patronicity provides a platform for communities to raise funds towards place-based community projects. And what's really neat about the program is that IHCDA provides matching funds to leverage against community raised support. So projects raised between $5,000 and $50,000 towards a placemaking project that their entire community supports. And then IHCDA, if they are successful, provides a matching fund, matching grant dollar for dollar. Some stats for the program from 2016 to today. Last year, we actually came to the board to tell you that we had over 200 successful campaigns, which was a huge milestone to hit last year. We're actually now to 270. So since about March last year, we've had 70 campaigns, which is hard to believe. We've maintained about a 96% success rate. And projects have crowdfunded over $11 million statewide. Something we're also especially proud of is for every dollar that IHCDA invests in these communities, communities are able to raise $4 of their own funding, which is just an incredible amount. Shows how much IHCDA's funding really provides incentive for communities to get behind these projects. Every update, I like to show a little bit more of this map getting covered. So we're getting very close to full state coverage. That's always a goal, of course. We are now represented in 77 counties. It's an 83% coverage over the entire state. We have 5 new counties since my last update in September. That includes Park, Crawford, Jackson, Washington, and Jay County. But on a little bit more of a granular level, We also have had successful projects in 137 unique communities. 23 since my last update, new towns and cities. And we like to show just a bit of the versatility of this program and how it can be applicable to small communities and large communities alike. So of those 23, 5 were in larger cities of 5,000 or more people. 8 were in towns of 1,000 to 5,000 people, and 10, almost 50% of those were in communities of 900 or fewer. I'm not going to read all of these quotes, you have them in your board packet, but I just wanted to give a little bit of a snapshot of what some of our project creators are saying about not only how impactful this program has been to garner support from community members, but also how easy the platform is to use, how seamless the process has been for them, and how impactful it's been for them. As any program does have some challenges and many opportunities. So we have seen projects continue to occasionally request extension. We want our projects to complete within a year of receiving grant funds from us. Occasionally they do need extensions to that just because of construction delays and other challenges. But we've continued to see a very robust pipeline for this program, many new communities and new ideas. And I'll hit on this in a moment, but we have had a continuation of 2 successful pilot programs. From 2021 to 2023, we doubled our amount of campaigns. So we went from 30 campaigns in 2021 to 60 in 2023. We've already done 30 thus far this year. And so we're expecting to do around 60 again. So I just wanted to quickly highlight 2 of the pilot programs that we launched last year and are continuing in this year because we've seen a lot of success. The first is called Creating Livable Communities. This is a partnership with AARP Indiana. AARP has given us $25,000 to provide 5,000 additional grant dollars to 5 different community projects. These are all projects that are specifically targeted towards aging Hoosiers, aging in place, intergenerational design, intergenerational spaces. Our 2023 communities included Anderson, Evansville, Napanee, Muncie, and Wells County, Veracruz, which is a very small community. And we have received funding again this year from AARP to do 5 more projects. We've already have 2. I had one in this slide, but we had another one approved last week. 2 projects already supported by IHCDA and AARP. So those will be launching and raising funds in the next couple of months. And then the second program is one that we've just really enjoyed launching and seeing a lot of success in, and that's the My Community, My Vision program. It's the same exact model of creating places, but we specifically target high school youth councils. And so since we launched this in fall of 2022, so we've had 2 program years now. We've had 8 campaigns, all of which have been successful. Students have raised money in Auburn, Mishawaka, Monticello, Williamsport, Greensburg, Batesville, Frankton, and Milan. And we've received some additional support from IDDC towards this program. You can see in these photos, our last group was Junior Auburn Main Street, and they raised over $50,000 to build a veterans memorial on their waterfront, which is a really cool project. A very small group of students, but just with a ton of energy and excitement that they built in Auburn around this project. We are accepting applications for the next round of this, and we have a lot of new mayors who are particularly excited about getting their youth councils involved. Just really quickly wanted to touch on this. This is the very first time we've ever done a county-wide collaboration. So Wayne County approached us and said, we really want to support 5 different smaller communities in Wayne County to build playgrounds. And so we were like, sure, let's do it. So Wayne County donated $10,000 to each of these campaigns, and the communities raised $40,000 each on top of that. So for over 123 days of crowdfunding, all of these projects were successful. So now we're going to have 5 new community parks across Wayne County. And then this is the last part of my presentation, and a particularly fun one. I get to spotlight a couple of the cool projects that we have done. These are ones that have completed, so we have some great after photos to share with you. This is the NSE Open Air Project by Near Space Education in Upland. What's cool about this nonprofit is they are particularly focused in bringing STEM-related activities to students. So they decided to transform some abandoned lots in Upland and turn it into community space. There's an amphitheater, there's a water feature, there's walking and seating, but they also have space for STEM learning, specifically weather balloon and drone launch space. And you can see some of the work that they've done in the past with students. That was their vision for the space, and then you can see it now in our after photos. So this is from the project opening, just an incredible community space, just beautiful. And they're really excited to be able to utilize this in the future. They raised over $54,000. And then what's cool is this same group is coming back to us to do a maker space. They are actually launching Friday, tomorrow, and we'll be raising funds towards another project. The next project is a small but very impactful one. This is called Bringing Our Seats to the Table. And the idea behind it was to take old chairs and reupholster them and turn them into an art exhibit that tells community stories. And so they only had a $5,000 goal, pretty small, but they brought the community together and Gary to celebrate story through art. And they had a ton of success. They had over 500 attendees through multiple days of exhibits. They hosted an African dance workshop, poetry night. They also engaged with students from the Charter School of the Dunes to be able to showcase the artists, and then also just, like I said, some community stories. And then the last main project I wanted to highlight is just one that I think is indicative of what's going on in the state right now, which is the importance and celebration of diversity in students and abilities of play. And so we have the Comforting Hearts All-Inclusive Playground in Washington. These playgrounds continue to be extremely high impact for students that normally wouldn't be able to play with their peers. And they had a $50,000 goal, and they actually raised over that from over 1,000 donors. So the whole community really came together to support this project. It's already a very well-loved playground. They provided their reporting to us, and they said they've already had around 200 children on the playground with about 8 kids a day. And that will just continue to grow as more people learn about access to the playground. My very last slide here is just to highlight a couple of the new communities. Like I mentioned before, we've been in so many new communities since September, so I just wanted to highlight a few of those. In Corey, which is a small community, we had the volunteer fire department raise funds for a community playground. In Salem, Indiana, along the Monon South Trail Restoration Project, they built a boxcar, or they restored a boxcar and made it into kind of a trailhead. Louisville, they had an old skating rink that had been underutilized for years, and they renovated it and turned it into a space for the community to access. And then we've seen a lot of pickleball courts. They're very popular, and they're just a great example of intergenerational space, people getting out and active, and yeah, just enjoying the outdoors. So those are just a few of our new communities. And that is the end of my update for the board. With the conclusion of my update, I wanted to mention that we are requesting approval for an additional $1.5 million to continue funding Creating Places and our pilot initiatives, My Community, My Vision, and Creating Livable Communities. And we are also requesting the delegated authority to continue to approve these campaigns on a rolling basis. And I'll now pause for any questions the board may have.
Any questions from the board? Yes.
Awesome. Are you the one directly getting it out, or doing that? Who is actually managing that process?
So I manage the funds transfer and I work hand in hand with Bridget Anderson from Patronicity. She's the project coach and she helps them strategize, get ready for crowdfunding. And then once they complete their crowdfunding, then yeah, I oftentimes will go out and help celebrate with them in their communities. Yeah, Jake sometimes come out with us and we'll say a few words and we make sure they get their grant funds. And then we also do a lot of tracking as far as the reporting on the back end and just providing them additional support if they need it.
If not, two months. It seems like it'd be a pretty cool thing to really get out to the rest.
I don't know if there's any other state housing finance agencies that are doing this and creating places. The Patronicity, there are a few other states. I think like Michigan has it up under their economic development arm. I think Massachusetts may have a small program as well. But I'm not aware of any other housing finance agency that also has their mission of community development, because that's where it falls up under us. Obviously, this isn't housing. This is that community development, our name. So, but in terms of press, this program generates more press for us than probably all of our other programs. Yes, absolutely.
Because every local media outlet wants to cover this. I mean, it's great at the kickoff and it's great when they've finished a project.
Usually it does get covered. Sometimes you'll see it.
Tomorrow we're supposed to be in the IBJ.
Oh,
So
good.
Well, there
You'll
you go.
see it there.
that's what they told me, but
Hey, I just wanted you guys to brag a little bit.
It has been on, one of the projects was covered by CBS this morning over a series, and then also NPR's picked up on a couple of them as well. So you do see it on more of a national level as well. So, yeah.
Other questions? Okay, if you could read your proposed resolution.
yeah, so I have two, and I will start with the first one. Resolved that the board authorizes IHCDA staff to take all actions necessary to approve the allocation of the crowdfunding grants, provided that the board is informed of all crowdfunding awards on an annual basis as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Tom
Shopmire.
McGowan, move for approval.
Mike Shopmire, second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Bobby Reddy,
Aye.
Michael Schopmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe,
Aye.
Tom McGowan,
Aye.
and Valentine, aye. Motion carries. We'll now take your second resolution.
Thank you. Resolved that the board approves the allocation of development fund in the form of grants in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
Andy Place, motion for approval.
Tom McGowan, second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Bobby Reddy, Michael Schopmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe,
Aye.
Tom McGowan.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Please welcome Quinn Cassane, who will present the 2024 Individual Development Account Program Administrator Award Approval Board Memo. Morning, Quinn.
Morning. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Good morning, board. I am the Individual Development Account or IDA Program Manager, and today I have for you two related proposals for the funding allocation for the 2024 IDA Administrator and IDA Tax Credit programs. So my first proposal is going to be for the IDA Administrator Awards. To give you a brief overview of the program, IDA is a state-funded match savings program that helps low-income working families achieve self-sufficiency through education and asset building. IDA participants have about 3 years to save up to $1,500, and they're matched at a rate of $3 for every dollar saved to put towards an approved asset purchase, which can be a home, vehicle, small business, education or job training, or owner-occupied home repairs. The program is administered by local nonprofit community development corporations or community-based organizations. And we have all 92 counties in Indiana that are served by IDA administrators. For this year, IHCDA has $540,750 in available funding to support the IDA program, which would equate to 103 accounts that we have available to award. For the current round, the administrator applications were accepted for approximately 4 weeks starting in April. And these were evaluated based on applicant responses and also program performance history. And then for the applications, they had to meet a threshold out of 70 out of 100 points to be approved. Out of the 26 reviewed applications, 23 met those requirements and are being recommended for approval. As such, staff recommends the allocation of the 2024 IDA Administrator Awards in aggregate not to exceed the $540,750 as set forth in Table A on the memo you should have received.
Wonderful. Does the board have any questions? Turn your mic on, please. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have one question. So when this allocation goes through, how many different CDCs receive this money to then allocate to the 103? Roughly.
To the 103 accounts.
Yeah.
So for the 2024 award, we are recommending funding for 23 CDCs.
23. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we will hear your resolution.
Okay, staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve awarding IDA funding in aggregate amount not to exceed $540,750 to the applicants as set forth in Table A to administer the IDA program for the program term beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending on June 30th, 2028 as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I will entertain a motion.
Bobby Reddy, motion to approve.
We have a second.
Andy Place second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Avi Reddy,
Aye.
Michael Schopmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe,
Aye.
Tom McGowan,
Aye.
and Valentine. Aye. The motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Quinn, you've got the next thing up as well.
Yes. So my second proposal is for the 2024 IDA tax credit awards. So to tell you a little bit about this program, in conjunction with the IDA program, Indiana Code also authorizes IHCDA to allocate up to $200,000 in state tax credits to approved IDA administrators to be distributed to donors in exchange for contributions. The revenue from the sale of these tax credits is used to fund additional IDAs to supplement the number of accounts that are available through the regular IDA program. These credits are used to offset the donor's state tax liability, and they're worth 50% of the eligible contribution amounts. So the $200,000 in tax credits available for funding can support up to 71 IDA accounts, in addition to the 103 from the regular program. As in previous years, the IDA and IDA tax credit applications were combined, and of the approved IDA administrators, 9 also requested tax credit accounts, of which all 9 are recommended to receive funding. Between these 9 applicants, a total of 82 accounts were requested. Most of the approved applicants are recommended to receive the full requested amount that they on their application, and then the 2 organizations that are new to the IDA tax credit program who also requested more than 15 accounts are recommended to receive 15 accounts each. So we are recommending the 2024 IDA tax credit awards in aggregate amount not to exceed $199,562.50 to the applicants as set forth in Table A on the memo.
Great. Do we have any questions from the board? Seeing none, we will hear your resolution.
Okay. So staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve allocating IDA tax credits in an aggregate amount not to exceed $199,562.50 to the applicants as set forth in Table A as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution before us. I will entertain a motion.
Andy Place, motion for approval.
Do we have a second?
I'll be ready. Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Avi Reddy,
Aye.
Michael Shopmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe,
Aye.
Tom McGowan,
Aye.
and Valentine, aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Quinn.
Thank you.
Next up, please welcome Rachel Sample, who will present the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS 2024-2025 Program Year Funding Allocations Board Memo. It's perfect timing. I took just the right amount of time to get you up there.
Yeah, we obviously were in sync. Good morning, board. I'm here today to present to you the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, or HOPWA 2024-25 Program Year Funding Allocation. A little bit about the program. The HOPWA program is a formula grant that's administered by HUD. It is for low-income individuals and families who are living with HIV or AIDS. HOPWA funding can be used to provide short and long-term rent assistance, short-term mortgage assistance, utility assistance, facility-based assistance, housing information, supportive services, and permanent housing placement services, as well as a small allowance for admin costs. This year, we solicited applications to award $2,132,044.48 to projects across our state. We did receive 7 requests for HOPWA funds, and HOPWA funding does need to be spent within 3 years of receipt of the award. Our applicants this year were reviewed to make sure they met threshold criteria, which are listed out in the board memo. Applicants were also evaluated on their previous program successes, programmatic outcomes, households served, the previous grant utilization that they had in past years, and were also evaluated on the available funds, obviously, compared to what they were requesting. All agencies that applied did meet threshold and are recommended for awards as seen in Table A. You can also see in our Exhibit A a map of the counties covered by the HOPWA program administered by IHCDA. And I have a recommendation from us as staff that the board approve awarding aggregate amount of HOPWA funds in the amount not to exceed $2,132,044.48 to the applicants set forth in Table A for 2025 program year.
Any questions from the board?
Question, Madam Chair. Year over year, is that an increase of the previous allocation, or what's kind of the year over year increase?
Yeah, the HOPWA program has been modernized by HUD so that the funding allocation for the state of Indiana has increased slightly year over year. We usually see an increase of between $60,000 and $100,000 year over year. Just kind of depends. This year we had a smaller increase, about $60,000 over last year.
Okay, we will hear your resolution.
Thank you. Resolve that the board approves awarding an aggregate amount of HOPWA funds in the amount not to exceed $2,132,044.48 to applicants as set forth in Table A for the 2024-25 program year as recommended by staff.
We have a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll be ready. Motion to approve.
We have a second.
Mike Shopmeyer, second.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll. Mark Pascarella,
Aye.
Avi Reddy,
Aye.
Michael Shopmeyer,
Aye.
Andy Place,
Aye.
Chad Greiwe,
Aye.
Tom McGowan.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank
you.
you, Rachel. Next up, please welcome Kristen Garvey, who will present the Homeless Services Update. I'll talk slower next time. I didn't give you enough time.
That's all right. That's all right. Good morning. I really appreciate the opportunity to come before you and tell you a little about the Homeless Services Division. Hopefully this will work. Yes. So who we are. The Homeless Services Department, or the Community Services Department, we're also known as that, work with partners and service agencies to provide resources or funding, training, data, and guidance that will help individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness so that they can achieve sustainable housing and self-sufficiency. We have a portfolio of 4 funding sources. Our first one is the community or continuum of care, or COC funding. That is for individuals who are experiencing chronic homelessness and have some sort of a disability. That funding covers permanent supportive housing or long-term housing, rapid rehousing, which is a medium-term housing solution, transitional housing, which is short-term, and then supportive services, those wraparound services that help an individual achieve self-sufficiency. We also have emergency solutions grants, or ESG. That is for individuals who are experiencing literal homelessness. That covers things like street outreach and emergency shelter. It also covers rapid rehousing, as well as homelessness prevention for individuals who are at imminent risk of homelessness. You heard from my colleague about HOPWA, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. She did a wonderful job explaining that. And then we have some new funding, which is our temporary assistance for needy families, and that is to assist families so that children can be raised in a stable home environment. We have also been working on a couple of special projects, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And then we serve as the staff support for the Indiana Balance of State Continuum of Care Network. So when we talk about the COC, or Continuum of Care, we actually talk about several different things. It is a funding source, which I mentioned. It is also a program. It's a HUD design program that promotes community-wide commitment to the goal of ending homelessness, doing so through comprehensive and collaborative resources that communities build in order to end homelessness. It's also a network, and that network is 91 of the 92 counties. We do not serve Marion County. Marion County has its own COC system. It is divided into 16 regions, as you can see on the map. Most of them are multi-county regions, but there are 2 counties, Lake County and St. Joseph County, that are a single county region. And then it is led by a 17-member board of directors, one of which has to be a person with lived experience. And then there also has to be representation from 7 HUD designated populations, which include domestic violence, youth, chronic homelessness, severe mental illness, families, and veterans. This graph shows the portfolio over the past 5 years, and you can see that we have ESG funding, and a few things to think about as you look at this is, as was mentioned, our HOPWA as well as our ESG funding are formula-based funding, so that is an amount that HUD gives to us, and then we distribute that to our subrecipients. We have 3 years to spend our HOPWA funds, and we have 2 years to spend our ESG funds. And our goal for both of those programs is to expend 100% of our funding source, which we have been fairly lucky and fairly capable of doing. Our COC funding is actually a competitive process, and that's why IHCDA serves as the collaborative applicant as designated by the Balance of State Board. And we conduct an annual competition and then submit an overall application on behalf of everyone in the state who receives COC funding, or the Balance of State, I should say. So that means that we are working with both direct HUD-funded agencies and our subrecipients when we submit that grant. That is an annual grant, and so our utilization, we work with our subrecipients to make sure that they're reaching about 90 or 95% utilization. After sometimes years, there are certain criteria or certain situations that don't allow individuals to pay or to utilize the funding that they receive. COC has been growing over the past 5 years, and that is due in part because we've received some DV bonus money that started in 2020, and then in 2023 we received a rural set-aside funding, which increased our funding. And then finally, late last year, we received our TANA funds, and we're looking forward to seeing the outcomes that come from our TANA funds. Another role that we play, that we serve with the balance of state, is as the HMIS lead. HMIS is the Homeless Management Information System, and that is a database that collects client-level data and housing around the individuals who are experiencing homelessness. They collect, they collate, and they review the data that is added to the system from both funded and non-funded service providers. And this information allows us to analyze the status of homelessness in Indiana. And we are required to submit 4 major reports to HUD every year. You have probably heard about the point-in-time count, which is a count of sheltered and unsheltered people who are experiencing homelessness on a single night. They are either out on the street or in emergency shelters. Our team is getting ready to release all of that information, but I'm going to give you a sneak preview of what's coming. You can see from this graph that we had a slight increase of total number of individuals experiencing homelessness. However, there was a significant increase in individuals who were unsheltered. The number went from 804 people in 2023 to 1,138 people in 2024. If you're interested in learning more about this year's PIT count, the webinar to release all of the information is on July 31st, and after which we will be publishing that information on our website. That's not all the data that we receive. The point in time is just that. It is a point in time. It's on a single night in January that is designated by HUD. But we have a lot more information, and the data that we have through our HMIS system shows the whole system. You can see here, this is the unduplicated count of individuals who are in emergency shelters, transitional housing. Yes.
This might be a dumb question, but you mentioned earlier that Marion's not part of COC.
Yes.
So does our data include Marion or?
This information does not include.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, thank you for that clarification. And so this information that you see here is that it's emergency shelter, transitional housing, rapid rehousing, and permanent supportive housing. And so just in the first 6 months of 2024, there have been 10,179 individuals interacting with the homeless response system in one way or another. Another role that we play with the Indiana Balance of State is to serve as the coordinated entry lead. This is the CE system is a centralized process to get people into the homeless response system. And this is an intake assessment process that provides referrals and prioritize individuals based on the most vulnerable. This data here shows the number of individuals just in 2024 that have received an enrollment in CE. So they're waiting for housing. On any given month, we see about 1,800 people being enrolled in CE. And so far in 2024, there have been 5,374 people who have been requesting assistance. All of this information can be useful to communities, to regions, and to the balance of state to help them determine trends, challenges, and strategies that contribute to reducing and ending homelessness. Now, I want to talk about some of our special projects that I mentioned earlier. These are projects, 2 of which are ending this year. Our first one is our Homeless Regional Youth Project. This was a project that was a partnership with the Indiana Department of Education. And it was, how I describe it, is bridging the gap between school and community. We had individuals, employees who were working with school systems to provide resources for youth and their families who were experiencing homeless or housing instability. You can see from the numbers that our team vetted 950 regional resources for the Department of Education. They supported and worked with 750 youth and young adults during this period. And they interacted and provided resources to community partners over 1,600 times. They also identified over 800 barriers, and they've been categorized in these main groups. So housing, transportation, identification, and identification means just identifying the people who actually need the assistance. And then basic needs, access to the other resources that individuals need besides housing. And so those were the barriers that were identified. This program did end in June of this year. Ellen? Oh. Another program that is ending this year is our Homeless Health Infectious Disease. Both of these programs came out of the American Rescue Plan funding, and this program was to assist emergency shelters to mitigate infectious disease in congregate settings. And so some of the things that this program did is they distributed over 45,000 boxes of supplies, from Band-Aids to masks to disinfectants, et cetera. They also met with partners to build relationships between emergency shelters and local health departments. And then finally, they provided educational documents around guidance on infectious disease, including COVID, respiratory illnesses, tuberculosis, as well as some guidance around what to do during the winter weather and what to do with heat-related illnesses. That information actually was just published this week. And finally, looking forward, some of the things that are happening, I talked about the TANF program, which I'm really excited about getting that program started. And I want to thank the board. Last month, you voted on our first allocations for that program. So thank you very much for that. All the work that was done during the Homeless Youth Regional Program laid the groundwork for us to receive a grant that's called the Youth Homelessness Systems Improvement Grant, or YESI. And that grant will help us to put in place the systemic things needed to help youth experiencing homelessness. And the goal is, after we do that, there is another funding source called the Youth Homeless Demonstration Program, which is part of the COC program, that all of this work will hopefully give us an opportunity to apply for that funding as well, so that we can have dollars to help individuals, youth and young adults who are experiencing homeless find housing. And then finally, I mentioned the coordinated entry system. We are actually introducing a brand new assessment tool next week. It's called the Collaborative Housing Assessment Tool. It was designed, or is designed, to be more trauma-informed, equitable, and dynamic, so that as we look at our data, we can adjust and adapt to the changing dynamics of our homeless response system. And so we're very excited about all of these programs and the work that we have ahead. And I just want to end by giving a shout out to my staff. They are dedicated and they work tirelessly to meet the demands of their responsibilities. Some of them are here today. And I'm always in awe of the work that they do on this journey towards making homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions from the board? Any discussion?
Great presentation, first of all. A lot of information. I think we all appreciate what your team's doing. Quick question on on the actual allocation of funds, how much do you think actually goes towards wraparound type services, keeping people housed? Any rough idea of allocation on that?
I'm gonna turn to our grants manager.
So it's yeah, got it. Yeah,
really because mostly folks are very low, very low. But I will say we are encouraging projects all the time to evaluate their budgets and add additional services. And for our supportive housing projects, so many of them have the benefit of going through the Indiana Supportive Housing Institute. So they really have a lot of attention around their service model. And whenever they do feel like they need to come to the program and look at how they might be able to increase their service.
that's very helpful, just allocation wise. One thing that could be interesting is CICP, which is the community partnership of the CEOs, starting to raise a lot of money right now. And it kind of came out as presentations that we did to them, to make sure that they're engaged and creating funding mechanisms for CICF and making sure there's funding. It kind of makes me wonder if from a state standpoint, there could be some mechanism similar to what's kind of happening in Marion County, where different counties are understanding the need for wraparound to keep people housing, because it's been really successful. A lot of these big corporations in Marion County are starting to step up. And when I hear about all this going on in the state, and I know Marion County is excluded, but with the new master leasing that's going on and all this, there's obviously a huge need for this money, and it's happening. So just the thought that maybe some of the things that are happening in Marion County could be pushed off to other areas as well, just because it's starting to be a pretty good model, funding wise.
Right, and I'd like to add, for each of the regions, there is a regional planning council.
Right.
And part of that is wrapped into what they're supposed to be doing. Now, some regions do a better job than others. But our team also works with the regional planning councils to help them do their work.
Okay. I was just with this, once it gets a little bit further, we can kind of allocate or specify what the dollars amounts were raised. And, just looking at Michael and other people in Evansville, and I think that model could be replicated. So just something to think about long term. One more question. In terms of the board, how is that board selected?
Most of the board are volunteers from the specific 16 regions, I think.
Okay.
Is that right? So we have
Yes.
one board chair, and then we have representatives from all 16.
So it's
regions.
distributed. I got
Yeah.
you.
And
Okay.
usually those are some of the partnerships that are already in place.
Already in
Yeah.
place. Okay. Thank you.
But I will add that we are starting our nomination process. So if you know of anybody who would like to join the COSO board, that would be great.
Great. Any additional questions? Well, thank you to you and your
All right.
team. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, our executive director, Jake, is going to give us an executive update.
Yeah. So just continuing to talk a little bit, I want to echo what Kristen mentioned. The team is doing great work in our community service division. I do want to recognize the Homeless Youth Award that we received. It was $1.5 million. That was one of the largest awards that was made to any state. So I'm really proud that we were put together a really strong application, because that was very competitive funding to create that coordinated system for our youth that are experiencing or at risk of homelessness. So I just wanted to make sure that the board is aware that was a very highly competitive application, and we received probably the maximum that we could have received, and one of the highest, like I said, in the country. So with this, I also want to mention, Tom, you're kind of going down the road of services. A lot of that work has to be done through partnerships with other state agencies. So, you know, Kristen mentioned the TANF funding. Those dollars are coming from FSSA. And that's that partnership that we have with them. We mentioned the partnership we have with the Department of Education. We have partnerships with Department of Health. So continuing to have and foster those types of interagency partnerships across our state is critical for us to deliver services and funding. And I think that model then also needs to be replicated at the regional level.
Agree.
So it really is about interagency conversation, and continue to educate our other agencies about what we do and how the continuum of care can play an important role in delivering services.
Well said.
Yeah. So I also want to mention just real quick, the point in time count was really successful. Again, a lot of that was at the local level, the engagement that we're seeing. There are still counties that did not participate this year, but that number continues to drop. But the partnership and the numbers that you're seeing, I think, are more in line with what we are in the state, because it is representative of really active volunteers going out and knowing where to go have these counts, and to have the trauma-informed education that we're doing so that they feel comfortable providing information that we can have to make some better data for the point in time count. So that point in time count data continues to get better. It's not accurate, it's not perfect, but it is getting better. So yeah. So just other couple of quick things here. Boy, last 45 days, we've been on the road going to ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings. I mean, there is construction all over the place across our state in terms of creating affordable housing, preserving it, new construction. It's really exciting to see. We've had to divide and conquer within our team here to get out to all the sites to visit and to be part of a lot of the events that are taking place. But it's there's a lot going on right now across our state, and I know a lot of that has to do with last November's board meeting, where we made that historic announcement in terms of the financing and the commitment that we made for a lot of developments and a lot of units. So that effort is now going on right now. So we're in the peak of construction season right now. So, and we're feeling it. There's a lot for us. So yeah, and it's exciting. So to see what's going on across the state. A couple other things real quick. I think everyone on the board, all of our board members are on some type of committee. So I've asked Jennifer just to follow up with each of you, and just real quickly outside the board meeting, but just to give you an update on the open door laws of Indiana in terms of how the committees will be run. We just want to make sure that you are fully aware of that. So I just asked Jennifer just to follow up with each of you to kind of just give you a brief update on the open door laws of Indiana, because we want to make sure that our committee meetings are in line with the open door laws, and you're fully aware of what those expectations are. So lastly here, we are going back on the road again for a couple of board meetings. I think Lauren's going to send out the updates to the calendars to these board meetings. So next month, August 22nd, we'll be at the Marriott Indianapolis downtown. That's at 350 West Maryland Street. That'll be part of the Indiana Housing Conference. So just the hotel down the street here is where we'll have our August 22nd board meeting.
Which we do that's an
Yes,
annual.
yep. We've traditionally have gone there and had it there, and it'll be in the same Santa Fe room, which is where we had it, I think, last year as well. So
Great.
and then on September 26th, we're going to go to Rushville. We've been very active in the city of Rushville and Rush County. So we want to get out and give them a big shout out and thank them, but also have a board meeting at their city center, which is actually part of a Creating Places project that they did there with their marquee that they have in downtown Rushville. So we're going to be having our board meeting in Rushville. And then on December 19th, the last board meeting of 2024, we're going to have our board meeting in Evansville. We'll be in Evansville for Mike. So we want to get down to see Mike Schottmeyer. We'll be at the Fresh Start facility. That is a partnership that we have with Volunteers of America. And we're excited to be able to have our board meeting in Evansville at the Fresh Start facility on December 19th. So, but the October and November board meetings, they'll be here at IHCDA. So.
And the Lieutenant Governor intends to be at the Evansville and the Rushville ones. So the Evansville one, I can guarantee she'll be, it's pretty easy, pretty close to home.
So that's my update for this one.
Great. Any additional business to come before the board? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do
Motion to adjourn. Mark Pascala.
we have a second?
I'll be ready second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned as of 10:57. Thank you.